Here is Sub-Lieutenant Rafe Richardson, RNVR.
This film will show you that we're winning our battles. They're battles we've been fighting for a long time against poverty, disease, and ignorance. Now, unfortunately, invaluable time and money has to be spent on other battles, too. But the time will come, and let's pray it'll come soon. When victorious on land, on sea, and in the air, we can turn again with undivided attention to the task of securing the health and happiness of the 40 million people of this country. This precious stone set in a silver sea, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England. "200 years ago, a nation of farmers and craftsmen. Then over the face of England there came a change. There was coal in Wales, coal in the Midlands, coal in Lancashire, Yorkshire, and Durham. "3 million tons mined in 1700, 10 million tons in 1800. In 1900, 225 million tons. Coal, by the development of science, became the source of power. Coal for smelting, for iron and steel. Coal for steam and power, the power behind the Industrial Revolution. Coal and iron and steel for the needs of industry, for transport, for speed. Speed, 5, 10, 20 miles an hour. Speed 40, speed 50, 60, 80 miles an hour. Coal and iron and steel for industry. Power for the textiles of the north, for cotton and wool, silk and fabrics. For textiles in Manchester, Leeds and Huddersfield, Rochdale, Nelson, Accrington, Bolton, Congleton and Macclesfield. The industrial north, transformed by the machine into a land of factories and furnaces, of mines and workshops. Speed and mass production.
Steel, iron and coal for construction. Sheffield and Swindon, Derby and Stafford, Middlesbrough, Doncaster, Coventry, Birmingham, Wolverhampton and Crewe. Railways and shipbuilding, bridges, tools, machinery, armaments.
Iron and coal and steel for ships to carry our trade. Transport overseas. London, exporting the manufactures of the Midlands and the home counties and bringing the nation its food. Southampton, the center of passenger traffic, the gateway to the four corners of the world. Manchester, cotton and textiles, iron and lead. Liverpool, grain and sugar, timber and oil. Ships for transport and trade. Ships to carry men over the world. Out of iron and coal and steel, we've built up the industries of England. We've built up our factories and our cities. Slag heaps and smoke, soot upon the fields, forests of chimney stacks. In 150 years, we have changed the face of Britain. We have changed it forever. It changed the people too, changed them forever. From the land they had tilled for nearly 2,000 years, the people moved into the houses, the attics, the basements, and the cellars. They came in their thousands, in their tens of thousands, for a living, for a wage, into the cities. They came in their millions, into the cities. 100 years ago, a burden lay upon the men and women and children of this country. Masses of refuse, offal and sickening filth lay among standing pools. Women and children filthy as swine that thrive upon the garbage heap and in the puddles. Some towns were without sewers. Others drained into streams, converted by mill dams into stagnant pools. The cottages were old, dirty, and of the smallest sort. Houses, streets, courts, lanes, and streams were polluted and rendered pestilential. Overcrowded, poor, under the shadow of disease. Into filthy hovels, into ill-ventilated factories and mines was crowded the manpower, the driving force of industry, men, women, and children. Water 100 years ago brought typhoid, cholera, and death. Today it's clean and purified. Water for cleaning the streets. Water to wash away dirt and disease. Water for drainage. water for the home. In 1933, there were 400,000 houses unfit for human habitation, the homes of nearly 2 million of our people. There were nearly as many houses where men, women, and children were living in overcrowded conditions. At the rate of 1,000 a day, our people are leaving the slums. More than 1 million of them are now in modern homes. Four million new houses have been built since the war. We're still building at the rate of 300,000 a year, on to the 5th million. A 100 years ago, there were no trained nurses, no medical officers of health. There were no clinics for mothers and children, relatively few competent midwives. There was no effective control of infectious disease, nor indeed was there much knowledge of its causes. Today, new hospitals are being built, sanatoriums and clinics to fight disease, tuberculosis, cancer, and all the ills of body and mind. Air and sunshine, parks, playgrounds, and green belts. A 100 years ago, infant mortality lowered the average age of death in Manchester to 20, in Bolton to 19, in Liverpool to 17. More than 20 million free meals are given to school children every year. There is periodic medical examination for every child at school. By careful examination, children are selected for the work best suited to their fitness and strength. Care for the boys and girls who take up the burden of industry. In the factories and mines, in the yards and workshops, there are 11 million men and women. On the strength of their bodies, on the strength of their nerve, and on their power to work depends the nation's prosperity. Men for glass and pottery, 100,000. Men for engineering and construction, 800,000. Mining, iron and coal, 900,000. Textiles, cotton and wool, 1 million. Building, another million. Metal industry, another million. Transport, 1.5 million. Clerks, typists, secretaries, 1.5 million. Men for agriculture, men for cattle and sheep, milk and dairy, for wheat growing, barley and oats. In all, over 16 million workers contributing to the national health insurance. We are cleaning up our cities and our towns. We are stemming the tide of dirt and disease. We are safeguarding our men and women and our children in their homes. We are modernizing our factories, making them healthier places to work in. Air, light, and labor-saving devices. Clean water, refuse and sewage disposal. Clinics for mothers and children. Milk and meals. Hospitals for care of the sick. Health and pensions insurance. New houses. Homes for the old and infirm. These are the health services of the nation. In all England and Wales, there are 40 million people. On the land, in the towns and cities, in the factories and mines, in the workshops and steel yards, 40 million men, women, and children whose birthright is health. 40 million men, women, and children. For their sake, the work begun must go on. Infant mortality has been reduced, but 30,000 children still die in their first year. Maternal mortality is falling, but nearly 2,000 mothers die in childbirth every year. Death from tuberculosis is decreasing, but it is still far too high. Cancer is on the increase. There are still slums to be cleared, feeding to be improved. In a century, 20 years has been added to the expectation of life. But we must still strive for health for all, for every man, woman, and child in this land. This precious stone set in a silver sea, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England.